We have two top 5 college basketball teams squaring off on ESPN. This is Brad Powers in the pregame.com studios just off the Vegas Strip. We're talking Saturday college basketball action. We got a good one here. We got Kansas at Kentucky.
Two high-flying teams. Who do you like?
Going to take the over. That's right. We're going to take the over. And we like these high-flying teams, but they weren't so high-flying in their last games. In fact, both of these teams not only off rare losses earlier this week, but also rare bad shooting percentages. So I expect some improved offensive efficiency. Let's take a look at it. You look at Kentucky in their loss against Tennessee, had their 4th worst shooting percentage of the entire season. Meanwhile, Kansas in their loss to West Virginia had their 3rd worst shooting percentage of the entire season. I look for a regression towards the mean here, which means both of these offenses should improve. That's why we like over 165. And again, we're doing a little bit of line projection here as we're taping this on Wednesday. So 165 or less is the projection.
Sure looks like a little bit of an aberration for both teams. Typically, they shoot much better.
Yeah, and for the season, both teams in the top 10 out of 351 teams nationally, Fez. Both teams average nearly 50% from the field. You got Kentucky at number 9, North Carolina at number 8. And when you're off of performance like that, I expect increased intensity and efficiency on the offensive end.
Now, when I hear intensity, I think about effort. And when I think effort, I think about defense. And typically, I look under the total. What's different here?
Well, I'm going to take a little bit of a contrarian view here. But first, I got to break it down on why you think that way. Because all year long, we're talking about high-stakes games, high intensity in college football, meaning under. Well, that's not necessarily the case in college basketball regular season games. I hate to admit it, but the college basketball regular season just doesn't have nearly as much value as the college football season. So it's not win or go home here for either team. So I actually think a high-intensity game means more energy, specifically to run up and down the floor on offense.
I think that's a great point, that you really have to evaluate each game by its own individual merits. Maybe perhaps looking ahead to the March Madness tournament when two teams who are on the bubble are going to play early in March. They both need the game like blood. How often do we see that type of game and 59, 58 and go way under?
But it's not quite to March yet, Fez. And if you look as recent examples this year, the marquee games this year with name brand blue blood programs, you had UCLA against this Kentucky team, a total of 175. What's the final on that one? 97-92. You had right here in Vegas, Fez, you had that great game between North Carolina and this Kentucky team, a total of 171. What was the final? 103-100 in a non-overtime game. And let's just use the example of these two teams from last year in a high-stakes game in the regular season, 90-84. All of those games well over this total.
Very friendly rims here in Las Vegas. Your second key handicap.
Yeah, let's talk specifically about both of these offenses. Well, they're not facing each other. They're facing the opposing defenses. And both of these offenses have significant matchup edges over the opposing defenses. You look at both teams' offensive efficiency ratings in the top 5 in the country. Meanwhile, Kansas's defense isn't even in the top 40.
I have to tell you, though, I would have liked this over way better if both teams had won instead of getting upset, giving up 80-plus points. I'm concerned both coaches are going to be screaming at their team to play better defense.
But again, both of these teams are in the top 10 in the country. Not because of their defense, it's kind of been above average, but because of their elite offensive play. It was their offensive inefficiency and their poor shooting percentages that caused those losses, not their defense.
Good news. I don't think you have to pay any vig on this one. I think we're going to go head-to-head. Let's make it official.
Yeah, let's make this one official. We're going to take over 165. Both teams are off disappointing offensive performances, and I expect improved intensity and focus and efficiency on the offensive end. Plus, both of these offenses have huge matchup edges and advantages over the opposing defenses. My numbers say take over 165 or less. More videos at pregame.com.